Hi, welcome to the Overland Legend. I'm Alan. This is our second episode in my new series, Classic Overland Trips. I hope you enjoyed the first episode, which was a trip to Botswana we did in 1992. If you haven't checked it out, then please have a look. This next episode is a trip we did to Mozambique in 1995. Again, some old footage that I've put together, and I've kept some of the original titles that I used back then, just to give it that feel from back then, but I've also changed some stuff, put in some new stuff. So let's jump into it. Enjoy. Mozambique was a favorite destination for us in the early 90s. The war had been going on for 20 years, since the early 1970s. The last time that I'd been to Mozambique was one of the first trips we had ever done in a Land Rover in our Series 2A in 1974. I was just 5 years old and Brian was 4 years old. This was one of the first overland trips that we had done by ourselves after spending nearly 20 years traveling with our parents. We returned to Mozambique in 1995 in our early 20s, and it was a special trip for us because it was the first time we were doing an overland trip in our own landies. I was driving my Series 2 short wheelbase. In fact, it's this very landy that I'm sitting on. I don't own it anymore because my best friend Dave now owns it, but that's a story for another day. Brian was driving his Series 3 long wheelbase that he had just finished renovating. And Big Al had joined us as well in his Series 2 pickup, which was having some issues, but we'll see more about that later. The destination was Praia de Barra in Inhambane. The trip was just over 1,000 kilometers that we broke into two by stopping over at my grand's house in the Marble Park area. This was always a nice stop as it was close to the border, so we could get an early start the next day. The second day took us via Maputo and then on to Inhambane.
Oh, they're enjoying that. And then this is the triathlon.
What we found at Barra was like a tropical paradise. As we drove the sandy tracks through the palm groves, the magnificent sea view greeted us. Besides the locals who were few and far between, there was nobody else and no real facilities. We practically had the whole place to ourselves. There were no campsites or formal facilities there, so we camped on the beach right up against the dunes in the shade of the trees. The first job was to dig the long drop hole, and then we could sit back and relax. For the next week or two, we spent the most amazing time camped on the beach right at the sea. We had taken along an inflatable boat with a motor, which we took down to the water, and we could put it onto the bay and then get out just outside the break line where there was some nice reefs, which we had some amazing snorkeling. No trip would be complete without at least some maintenance issues. Dipstick Albert had some high oil usage problems, and his exhaust was a little bit noisy and loose, and also had to have a little bit of on-the-fly tuning just to keep the performance right up there. I had some issues where my hooter fell off and caused a little fire, and even Brian had a problem in one of his oil cooler pipes came loose. We even came across a Land Rover graveyard with a whole lot of old Landies and even some Series 1s, as well as other vehicles that had been abandoned after the war ended.
I'll report you live from Coconut Bay. Al Thompson out there, just surfing a perfect wave, back into that you can see he's not getting his centre of gravity right on that one. A little bit more practice, a little bit more practice.
Eventually all good things come to an end, as they say. And so after a week or two of just an amazing time camping on the beach and enjoying the sea, it was time for us to get back. The first job though was to get our wheels pumped. We didn't have any electrical pumps, so it was a good old foot pump, and that was the job that we had to do, and then we were on our way.
Prehistoric man. Pumping his wagon wheels. Watch the event knee action.